All right, now Captain Tanya Shergill, a woman army officer, led an all-male army contingent at the Republic Day parade this year. A moment which led to significant euphoria all across. People called it the advent of Nari Shakti, a picture that possibly would shatter many stereotypes. However, the government, which at one end heralded this picture that you can see, this was Captain Tanya Shergill, just a few days after her leading an all-male contingent at Republic Day, in very stark contradiction. The government, representing the Indian Army in Supreme Court, opposed giving commanding officers posts and permanent commission to women officers in the Army. Fortunately, the Supreme Court today saw beyond that and schooled the government on gender equality, gender parity, paving the way for permanent commission and, most importantly, command position for all women officers.
In a landmark decision towards gender equality in our forces, the Supreme Court today upheld permanent commission and command position for all women officers in the Indian Army.
Our organization is the best. That's why we want to serve. हम मानते हैं कि ये जो बदलाव है ये सारी आर्मी की सभी लेडीज को ऊपर उठाएगा. Not only in army, all the girls across country or the world.
The ruling means that all women officers will now be on par with men when it comes to promotions, ranks, benefits and pensions, and hold command positions. The Supreme Court rejected the government's plea to overturn the Delhi High Court's order on the same matter.
This was a long-drawn battle which was being fought for more than 10 years, and now it has been given to them. So it is going to be a wonderful future for all the women in India.
The ruling has been hailed as a great leap towards equality in the army. Rejecting gender stereotypes, the top court schooled the government to change its mindset in order to end gender discrimination in armed forces. Calling out the government arguments disturbing and discriminatory, the top court gave the government 3 months to implement the Supreme Court order. The centre had argued through the Solicitor General that as per the army, women were not suitable for commanding posts because male troops are not yet prepared to accept women officers or take orders from them. Moreover, physiological, psychological limitations should be accounted for. Furthermore, what was deemed as patronizing, the SG further clarified that women need not compare themselves to men but are higher than men.
There has to be a mindset change within the organization, and I'm sure the army will stand up to it, and women officers will also be accepted as commanders wherever they are, because they are in no way, any way lesser than men.
Permanent commission will now be given to women officers in all branches except combat, where women have not been inducted, a role which still denies a level playing field. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, so many are looking at this as a historic day, a landmark day, because, mind you, it's been in the courts since 2003. What's also interesting is that since 1972, the demand that women enter the forces was pending, and the army only opened its doors in 1992, 20 years after the demand or the petitions were made. So it's been a long fought battle that women in this country have been fighting to get a level playing field where the armed forces are concerned, especially the Indian Army. I have with me today Brigadier V. Mahalingam. He's joining me in the studio. He's of the opinion that the Indian Army is not ready for women in command. I am also joined by Shazia Ilmi, Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, as well as Trisha Shetty, advocate. I want to cut across right now immediately first to Aishwarya Bhati. Now, and you know, our panelists would appreciate, she's the one who fought this battle today for the petitioners, some of them serving. Aishwarya, congratulations are in order. It's been a long fight. 2003, if I'm not wrong, was when the first petition was entered for women to be in command positions, and especially for permanent commission.
Well, this has been a long battle, Preeti. I, of course, got involved only at the Supreme Court level, but the writ petitions were filed in 2003, 2004, 2006 onwards before the Delhi High Court, which those ultimately culminated in the judgment of 12th March 2010 by the Delhi High Court, where Delhi High Court very emphatically said that women are entitled to permanent commission in the arms that they were serving as short service commissioned officers. Remember, 1992 was the first time when women were inducted, initially on an experimental basis for a period of 5 years, but then it got extended for another 5, got extended to another 4, and ultimately it got almost got stalled at 14 years, where they said that no more further and permanent commission wouldn't be given. So that has been the beginning of this battle. Yes, Supreme Court has rightly found that these are it has been an evolutionary process for women in the army, and this is a very significant milestone, not just for women in army, but I think for women across the world.
No, I'd reckon, especially in women in India, not just women in the army in India, but women in India who've been fighting for a level playing field for so long. You know, but Aishwarya, I'll ask you this question. You know, 26 January, beautiful images of, you know, Captain Tanya Shergill leading an all-male contingent right there. But days after, you know, the contradiction of the government, because the Solicitor General, Tushar Mehta, argued in court saying that troops, which are, you know, units, mostly men coming from rural backgrounds, would not take command from or take orders from a woman officer. And then, you know, what's something which could be seen as highly regressive and patronizing, coming out and saying that women should not aspire to be equal to men, they are higher than men. How did you deal with all of this?
The government had come out with a policy in 2019 February, extending permanent commission to 8 more arms where women were taken as short service commissioned officers. So that actually covered all 10 arms in which women were serving in the army as short service officers since 1992, and permanent commission was allowed. But there were some very sore and very discriminatory points in that policy, which we highlighted before the court and said that since the Delhi High Court has given us you know, parity in appointments and in promotions, therefore to allow these discriminations to perpetuate would be unfair. The court, the union resisted that, and on behalf of the army that note was given, which of course we've all seen it, the completely farcical submissions that were made with regard to national security, with regard to manpower management, soldiers coming from rural background not be able to take orders from women, lower physical standards, you know, biological and physiological needs of the women, their domestic issues, a whole sort of stereotypical arguments were raised, and they have been junked by the Honorable Supreme Court. I'm really happy to tell you that Supreme Court said that this do not stand in the face of the constitutional guarantees which are available to women citizens of India, and the state cannot even be permitted to raise these arguments to deny important constitutional rights to women.
You know, Aishwarya, I'll ask you one final question before I let you go. I know you're a little busy. Aishwarya has to go to other channels. She's fought this big battle today. She's won it for the petitioners. And Aishwarya, the question I want to ask you is, now going ahead, you know, this is big, especially to get women in command positions. You know, from here on, women would be, you know, especially not in combat roles, but in other roles, you know, to make it simpler for our viewers, would be on a level playing field when we talk about, you know, when we talk about pension, when we talk about rank, something they were always second citizens in too. So going ahead, Aishwarya, you know, for someone who's fought for our women in uniform and those who aspire to be in uniform, how far is the role of women in combat now?
So we gave those examples also. We should know, you know, Indian Air Force already trains and has women as fighter pilots who are performing duties, who are trained in combat, who are performing duties on the fighter pilots. We also gave instance of Squadron Leader Minty Agarwal, who was awarded again a gallantry award in the Balakot strike. She was the flight controller who was actually giving directions and controlling the flight of the dogfights of the aircrafts that were there, including the aircraft of Wing Commander Abhinandan. We've also seen that the face of combat is changing, you know, with technology, with drones, the face of modern warfare and the coming future warfare is not going to be the traditional fist to fist or dagger to dagger kind of a combat role. With those changing roles and the fact that, you know, international perspective also, at least there are 22 countries in the world today as we speak who have command roles with combat roles for women in their armed forces, along with full parity and command roles. So there is no reason why Indian women should be denied. In fact, Supreme Court also takes note of the UN peacekeeping forces that women have been part of and have played exceedingly important and significant roles in world peace also. So very important steps, very important watershed moments, but you know, it's the same mindset problem that the journeys of those women in other parts of the world, even the developed world, it's the same mindset.
You know, Aishwarya,
that was a problem there.
That's what I'm saying. The mindset that the Supreme Court talked about.
No matter which part of the globe we go in, women's journeys somehow remain same in texture and color.
Well, you're right there, and we are hoping, you know, as a woman, I'm hoping you'd fight it out. And thank you for scoring one for the team. Thank you, Aishwarya. We're going to let Aishwarya go. And thank you for the patience that our other guests have shown us to accord her that, because it is a big day for her. I want to cut across right now to Brigadier Mahalingam, defense analyst. I have Shazia Ilmi, Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, and Trisha Shetty, who's an advocate. Brigadier Mahalingam, I want to begin with you. You know, the army till the 1992 was an all-boys club. The women broke that barrier by entering the first petition in 1972. 20 years after that, the women actually were able to enter the army. To date, there's a fair amount of resistance, especially from the old guard, which includes you, which says that women should not get command positions. Well, they've been given no option. Now women need to be. The Supreme Court has said it.
See, first of all, I respect the Supreme Court's verdict.
Right.
I have not read the verdict itself, but I'm sure the army will respect it and implement it first.
Right.
Second thing is, I have no doubt whatsoever with regard to the women's leadership capabilities. That must also be very clearly understood. Thirdly, I will take on what you initially started off saying, that a lady officer commanded a Republic Day parade. Immediately thereafter, the government goes back and says something different.
Yes.
I must tell you, commanding a Republic Day parade
is like a showpiece. It's like a showpiece. She's treated as a peacock dance.
Yes.
Commanding. Yes, you agree with that. It's a showpiece. But she can't go back and command the men she's leading.
Yeah, it is not the same as commanding an infantry battalion in battle.
But infantry, she's not allowed to enter in any case. Infantry, armored corps, artillery. These three are still banned to women. So why are we getting into that? It's not that she's going to be leading a unit in the front line.
Please understand one thing. The physical fitness standard of a lady cadet, both at the academy as well as in their respective units, is totally different.
Sir, you're telling me a woman who's entering signals today, let's take that argument out for just a minute. Let's forget about the physical fitness just for a minute. Let's just say that argument doesn't exist, though I would like to contest that as well. But I want to ask you, you're telling me signals corps, a woman who's entering signals cannot command signals?
No. See,
where does physical factor come into that?
No, there are any number of physical factors. Divisional signal regiments commanding officer will have to perhaps physically go with his men and then ensure that the line is engineered.
And a woman is incapable of physically leading her men to that line.
Pardon?
And a woman is incapable of physically leading her women to that line.
Absolutely.
Men to that
sustaining it. See, I want to bring out one thing. In 1971 war, I entered Pakistan territory on the 4th of December. I came out on the 17th of December, wounded and evacuated.
And a woman would not have been able to do it.
In between that period, I never had a bath. I never had a bed to sleep in. I never had proper
Sir, that is not even... Okay, I want to bring in our other guest, but I would want to once again say it. Women are still not allowed combat roles. So the analogy you're drawing is... doesn't fit in. So women are not fighting wars. But it is that glass ceiling that especially the old guard has resisted in this country.
The way it is going, immediately after that it will come to combat. Let me bring in...
And it should. And it should come to combat. It should be a level playing field, but we are not talking about combat. I want to cut across to Shazia Ilmi. You know, Shazia, we had that press conference by Meenakshi Lekhi, who interestingly is a part of your party, but was representing these women as well as legal counsel. You know, it's a little rich. And, you know, Shazia, there's been enough political commentary by the likes of Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, the entire Congress saying a big win for women's rights and this government didn't honor it. But one has to say no government has honored it, including the Congress, including the UPA and including your own government. Your Solicitor General Tushar Mehta has argued in court that troops which come from rural backgrounds will not be able to take command from women, so they should not be given command positions. And later on, actually going on to say, Shazia, that women should not compare themselves to men. There are some higher beings.
So first of all, no, I do not agree with that at all. And let me bring some very interesting facts and bring you up to speed. First of all, I would like to say that it's a great day and it's great news. And I politely disagree with the preceding speaker. And I think women, and as they have been ready for roles in Israel in command positions, and so many in North America, for instance, Canada and the US and many other parts, and even in Libya. Let me just tell you that it was in 2012 when the additional affidavit was filed by a government opposing grant of permanent commission. In fact, it was in May 2018 that our government filed affidavit stating that we were willing to grant permanent commission to women officers. So in fact, Rahul Gandhi's lie or bluff has been called by us. And in 25, that is today, a policy has been made for grant of permanent commission prospectively. Obviously, it can't be with retrospective effect. But I think it's a great day. I'm delighted. My salute is to the Supreme Court. This should have come sooner. And I know I have friends who have fought. And first it was 5 years and then 5 years, then another 4 years. Was given, so total of 14. They had to go through the short selection commission to get there, and there was a psychological and a sociological barrier always in the minds of our lady officers, women officers, and now the gender bias has been smashed. And I'm delighted, as are many, not just women.
Okay, I'm
in
glad
the
you're
army,
delighted
but
because
many,
I think most women should be delighted. But I want to bring in Trisha on this as well, because Shazia, you say all of this.
Yes.
At the same time, just about 2 weeks ago, your Solicitor General, presenting the government's defense, went on to make it very clear that the Indian Army is not ready for women to be in commanding positions, that the Indian Army is not ready for a woman to give orders to its troops. This was a defense made by no one else but you, Trisha.
You just mentioned that Meenakshi Lekhi herself has been part of this
Meenakshi Lekhi was in personal capacity. Personal capacity, not as BJP leader. Personal capacity as a advocate.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
As a legal representative.
Yes, and she is a BJP MP.
But madam,
so if you want to,
that is if tomorrow Abhishek Manu Singhvi decides to pick up a case, that is not the stand of the government. The government put forth
MP.
No, the government put forth the stand. No, Shazia, you're shifting goalposts.
2012.
At least admit
the centre presented the affidavit, which was in 2018,
Shazia,
which is the BJP
the
time.
Solicitor General
don't make it about that, because
the
I've just
government.
called your bluff also in misrepresenting facts.
No, it's not misrepresenting
you're misrepresenting facts.
Are you telling me the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta
that we challenged the order?
1 second. Are you telling me, Shazia, that the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta did not represent the government?
The High Court order to be stayed.
I'm asking you.
No, it was challenged.
Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General did not put forth the government's point of view. Are you telling me that? Because he did. The government's point of view was put forth by Tushar Mehta.
No, but it was also, there was an affidavit. There was an affidavit. Look, if you want to go by that and not go by the government affidavit in 2018, which challenged this and the government's decision to have and grant permanent commission for women
and going
to
back
have women in
and
the
then Shazia going back and arguing that it wasn't needed.
Meenakshi Lekhi is very much
Trisha Shetty, let me bring in Trisha Shetty. Trisha Shetty, the fact is
no, it wasn't needed. Of course, I read out
Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, I can see the entire submissions. Okay, Shazia, the entire submission came from the government. The entire submission which said that women should not be given should not be given command positions, should not be given permanent position, came from the government. Okay, Trisha Shetty, I want to come to you and I want to ask you.
This was
what has, okay, 1 second.
What has been
all right,
said
Trisha,
for a long time,
no government has ever bit the bullet on this. It's been a long-standing fight and it's been the constant.
Hello?
Trisha, can you hear me?
There's no audio. Yes, I can. Firstly, I just want to step away from the regressive comments that were made, not by Shazia, but the previous panelist. Forgive me, I do not recollect his name. And just take a moment to, one, congratulate the women officers, the respondents who've led this good fight, to congratulate Advocate Aishwarya Bhatti and the legal counsel, as well as really be grateful for sane voices in our country like Justice Chandrachud, as well as Justice Ajay Rastogi and the Supreme Court, that has come forward and, re-established that this is a country where equality is a fundamentally guaranteed right, and that we will not tolerate discrimination and gender-based stereotypes. When Shazia says that, I'm glad Shazia is, grateful for the judgment that has come out today. But Shazia, I feel like that's more so your opinion, which I really am grateful for. But clearly, it's not the center's opinion. Talking about facts, the women officers, the respondents themselves made a statement as an official response to the center's statement, saying that the Union of India alone is responsible for this excessive and avoidable delay, and women officers must not face the brunt for this delay. Our justices also called out the centre and said that they're perpetuating discriminatory and dangerous stereotypes. And not just that, to then say, that this is because of rural men, it's also an insult to our rural men in India. We forget that the amount of, women sarpanchas we have in India who've led to such great progress and economic empowerment of their communities. And what the previous panelist said, where he was like, he's gone for days without taking a bath. I'm sorry, but if that's the testament to whether a woman can survive in army or not, sir, I assure you, when it comes to patriotism and love for our country, we can sacrifice a few baths to make sure that we will fight for our country. And if you want to talk about data and facts, if global data tells you that the more women are involved in peace and security processes, the more likely we are to have sustainable and long-standing peace, sir.
Okay.
And it's firstly, I think it's a great day where our Supreme Courts have upheld dignity of women and basically called out the centre for perpetuating disturbing stereotypes.
Stay with me. I have 2 minutes.
This confuses me because this is the same government that had Nirmala Sitharaman as the defence minister.
Yes.
So you can't play it both ways. We all praised you for having Nirmala Sitharaman as a defence minister. You do that on one hand, and then you perpetuate.
Okay, I want to end with because one thing,
government would hold itself to a
clarification needs to be made. This is not in combat roles. So when we are talking about taking bath, when we are talking about sitting in the front, it's not about that. Women haven't entered combat roles. So that is a separate argument. But I'll bring in Shazia and Brigadier Mahalingam for the last final time. And I want to quote a newly appointed CDS, who was the former Chief of Army Staff, General Rawat. And this has come in the last 3 days, Shazia, where he says women need to be cocooned from the eyes of subordinate soldiers. He also says India not ready yet to accept body bags of women. Also says women aren't ready to be in position of where they can give command or in combat because a woman would feel uncomfortable. Now, who asked the woman, Shazia? This is our CDS, your CDS, my CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff.
Yeah, this is our CDS. Yes, exactly. But there are those people, men and women, who feel this way. But there are those women also who've been fighting this mindset, whether it's based on a party or a particular spectrum, economic or political or social or any other. The fact of the matter is that the fight must continue.
Okay.
And thank God for Supreme Court, which is not given to the whims and fancies of individuals,
today, and I'm glad you've done that.
By the Constitution and the guarantees.
I'm glad you're saying what you are. Brigadier Mahalingam.
Rawat, you must understand, he is a combat soldier. He is an individual who has got more than 40 years of service. He has seen physically how things are done. And if he has said that, it had to be right. It cannot be anything else. And let me tell you, I cannot imagine a situation where a woman is a commanding officer.
So with due respect, you might not be able to imagine it, but it's time you imagine it because the Supreme Court has said it's happened. Let's move on from there.
Right
now it's time to imagine it. Whether you like it, whether you don't, and hopefully, sir, in times to come, if there is a level playing field, if there is a gold standard of physical test, and if a woman clears it, then you might not imagine it, but even women in combat will happen.
The physical standards are different. It
All
has
right,
been
I need
laid
to
down
close the show.
differently.
I need to close
and
the show.
how can a commanding officer be not as fit as their men?
Sir,
irrespective
like
of
I
which
said,
army.
with due respect,
And
with due
also
respect,
I would like to tell you that a commanding officer, be it in the ASC
Okay.
or be it anything
All right.
else,
I need to go
is
into
not
a break.
just giving
I
orders.
need to go into a break because, like I said, that club needed to be broken, and whether our old guard can imagine it or not, it's happening. Women are going to be in command position, not in combat yet. Yet is what we'd like to leave it with. Thank you all for joining us. Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.